All right, y'all. This isn't an April Fool's joke. We are going through the greatest wealth transfer in history. Wealth is being transferred away from anyone who doesn't have Bitcoin to anyone who does. Banks, governments, large multinational corporations, and even Warren Buffett are starting to figure it out, as he says that Bitcoin is better than Berkshire stock. Oh yeah, and billionaires too. People thought it was fake when Eric Trump said that he believed that Bitcoin would hit $1 million in December of last year.
I can tell you, a lot of eyes were opened when Bitcoin hit 100,000. And I can tell you a hell of a lot more eyes are going to be opened when Bitcoin hits 1 million. And I'm confident it's going to hit 1 million. I think we're all confident in this room that it's going to hit 1 million.
Well, I guess he wasn't faking when he said he believed in Bitcoin. In non-April Fool's news, Eric Trump will become the chief strategy officer of American Bitcoin. It's a merger between them and HODL Mining, where they will own 20% of the corporation and existing HODL shareholders will hold the remaining 80%. Together, they aim to create the world's largest miner of digital currency, with designs to build their own Bitcoin reserve. In other news, Uncle Larry, BlackRock CEO, says that he believes that the dollar is at risk of losing its reserve currency status. Although it's not reflected in the price, the world is moving towards a Bitcoin standard. And I'm going to reveal the Trump family's next move, which will lead to the greatest wealth transfer in the history of the world. No cap. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Let's go. Are you paying attention? The world is moving to a Bitcoin standard while you're asleep at the wheel. According to my guy Alec from Swan, 73,353 Bitcoin were purchased by corporations in Q1 of this year alone. Mastercard, that big payments company, is working on a way for its 3.5 billion cardholders to transact in Bitcoin. And Senator Tuberville is proposing the Financial Freedom Act, which will allow Americans to invest their retirement funds into Bitcoin.
The Biden administration just hammered the American people with regulations. And tomorrow I'm dropping a bill called the Financial Freedoms Act. And it allows families and individuals to invest their retirement funds into crypto. Now, President Trump has become the crypto president. And we want to help him with this. This will be something good for everybody. Diversify. This is a free country. Do what you want with your money. But the Biden administration, they didn't want anything to do with crypto.
This is massive news. Let me break it down. BlackRock just announced that IBIT, their exchange-traded product, was the most successful product in history, amassing over $50 billion in assets in just 1 year, just behind the S&P 500 index funds. But here's the crazy part. That was with Americans not even being able to invest their retirement funds in Bitcoin. Well, when I say retirement funds, I mean pre-tax retirement funds, your 401k dollars. Fiduciaries weren't allowed to allow people to invest into Bitcoin with their 401k money. You were only able to invest it in after-tax or post-tax dollars. And if you understand how the stock market Ponzi actually works, this is the largest driver propping up the S&P 500 and Mag 7 stocks, because every dollar from Americans' paychecks are going towards propping up these stocks. When this transfers to Bitcoin, look out. This is all part of Choke Point 2.0, where regular people like you and me, and the Trump family were being banned from bank accounts.
Welcome back. The Trump family's crypto blitz. Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. announcing their investment in a Bitcoin mining company. The Trump's American data centers merging with American Bitcoin, aiming to create the world's largest crypto miner and build its own Bitcoin reserve. Joining me now is Trump Organization Executive Vice President and the President's son, Eric Trump. Eric, great to see you.
How are you, Maria?
Great. Congratulations on this. Tell us what you're trying to do and why a Bitcoin reserve is needed.
Yeah, Maria, I never thought I'd fall into the world of crypto until every bank started canceling us for absolutely no reason whatsoever other than the fact that my father was in politics, right? I mean, we got canceled by absolutely everybody. They came after us viciously. And it wasn't until that time that I realized how important crypto was, right? Something that's cheaper, faster, more transparent. You can't be canceled. That's global. And it's what made me fall in love with Bitcoin. It's what made me fall in love with, DeFi and CeFi and stable coins. And We put a lot of our effort into it. We're building a great company, World Liberty Financial. Everybody's talking about it. It's doing phenomenally well. We just launched a stablecoin. On the other side, American Bitcoin. I think it's going to be one of the great companies out there. So I truly believe in it. And really, my epiphany was, again, cancel culture and what these financial institutions controlled by very few at the top were able to do to people that they didn't like, even families like ours that had a lot of zeros at the end of their balance sheet.
Well, that's incredible that's one of the catalysts that got you into this. Which banks canceled you? What happened?
Oh, God, everybody. Capital One being the largest. I've sued them recently. Chase canceled us.
Okay.
Let's hold on and pause for a second. This blocked a massive amount of assets from flowing into Bitcoin. And on another note, this is the son of the sitting U.S. president announcing that he believes in Bitcoin, and he believes that Bitcoin is the future of America and American banking. He's fulfilling his dad's promise to make Bitcoin the Bitcoin mining capital of the world. Bitcoin is becoming more strategically important day by day. And you know what else is incredible? The amount of capital that was stopped from flowing into the Bitcoin ecosystem over the last 4 years. And this is still happening today in places like Europe, where the EU lawmakers are banning from Bitcoin transaction in hosted or unhosted wallets from being moved outside of banking hours. They still haven't learned the lesson that you cannot ban Bitcoin, you can only ban yourself from the network. Like Vanguard, who we'll look back one day and we'll know exactly why they aren't one of the top 5 largest brokerage firms anymore. But back to the breaking story. All right, here's the biggest news of this video right here. And that's Eric Trump. When you listen to his words, you understand that his family and their expertise is in real estate and tax law. They understand the real estate market better than anyone else. And this is my prediction for the largest wealth transfer that will happen in the world over the next few years. Their family is going to introduce policy that will allow Bitcoin to be added to policy like in real estate, the 1031 exchange, which allows you to transfer your assets from the sale of real estate into a like-kind asset within 180 days without tax ramifications. Now, what if you were able to sell a property, a single-family home, an Airbnb rental, and that money were able to flow into Bitcoin tax-free? Or vice versa, you were able to sell your Bitcoin and not have a tax ramification. You would be able to invest into other hard assets like real estate or other property. This is going to lead from that $300 trillion in wealth flowing into this $1 trillion asset. People aren't ready for how big of a wealth transfer this is actually going to be. And speaking of being able to unlock liquidity of your Bitcoin without selling your Bitcoin, well, you can do that today with the leaders in Bitcoin-backed lending, which is Ledn. They've lent out over $9 billion worth of funds to over 40,000 customers since 2018, and they've never lost a single cent or sat of customer dollars. Your account can be funded in less than 24 hours. If you want a $5,000 loan, you post $10,000 in Bitcoin collateral. It's not some weird, crazy Ponzi scheme. In fact, you can know that they're legit because they're the first digital lender to do a proof of reserves. Go to learn.ledn.io/borrow to start your journey today. Go to learn.ledn.io/borrow to unlock liquidity in your Bitcoin without selling it today. Now, our second sponsor, we've dropped from sponsoring the show because they posted a tweet that they are supporting ETH, Solana, and other coins. Well, we're joking because no one would ever teach you how to do that safely and securely. Oh, and there's no way to do that. That's why we partnered with the Bitcoin Way, who will help you to become sovereign in your Bitcoin journey. They help you to take self-custody of your Bitcoin by protecting your generational wealth the right way. They'll help you to remove your private keys from exchanges safely, securely, and confidently. A member of their team will walk you through this process step by step. Go to thebitcoinway.com/simplybitcoin in order to schedule a free 30-minute consultation with their team today. That was an April Fool's joke. They only support Bitcoin, hence the name. Go to thebitcoinway.com/simplybitcoin to schedule a free 30-minute consultation with their team. No April Fools. The world is recognizing that it needs to tether itself to hard money. Oh, speaking of Tether, they just bought 8,888 more Bitcoin. They did this in the first quarter, which amounted to about $735 million worth of Bitcoin being purchased. They now own 92,646 Bitcoin, worth roughly $7.8 billion. Tether is smart money. And along with Tether, you'll notice that other whales are buying Bitcoin right now. While you were selling your Bitcoin because you were scared about the news, whales were buying if you look at the data, charts, and analytics. And the U.S. government will be following in their footsteps soon, according to Alaskan Representative Nick Begich.
Bitcoin Act establishes the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, a federal initiative to ensure that the United States holds a meaningful position in the most important decentralized financial network on Earth. With an eye to fiscal responsibility and innovation, the legislation outlines a plan to phase in the acquisition of up to 1 million Bitcoin, or roughly 5% of its total final supply over 5 years. Importantly, this will be done without raising taxes or increasing government debt. The Bitcoin Act is designed to be budget neutral, relying on Federal Reserve remittances, which exceeded $76 billion in 2023, gold certificate revaluations, unlocking additional capital without new spending, and updates to the Exchange Stabilization Fund. These mechanisms allow us to build a strategic reserve without burdening taxpayers, while also potentially offsetting long-term national debt.
Companies like Bitwise are allowing their customers to buy into companies that own Bitcoin in the Own B ETF strategy. They allow you to invest in companies that own Bitcoin like MicroStrategy, Marathon, Tesla, Square, and new companies like Fold and BitDeer. Their Bitcoin treasury companies own 3.2% of the total supply of Bitcoin in the network. And why would you want to own anything else? If you're a younger generation or a millennial that didn't have the opportunity to invest into assets when interest rates were 18% and went down to 0% when money was free, then you have to find other ways in order to store value, in order to increase your wealth. And Peter Dunworth, the Bitcoin advisor, believes that there's a 100x opportunity in Bitcoin over the next decade.
There is no hyperbole when I tell you this, but if the world understood Bitcoin the way I see it, then we would have a multi-billion-dollar Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. It's just, that's how it would operate. It would fill in so many holes that I see in the financial system. And I look at this and think, it has the ability to solve so many problems that we're currently facing. Now, just because I see it and think this would be, an applicable solution to a lot of the problems that we're facing doesn't mean the rest of the world does. And sadly, back to Bitcoin being a consensus mechanism, the rest of the world needs to find that consensus of what I believe to be true. And this is what's so important about the work that you do. Up to 138 podcasts now, hearing all of these differing opinions, trying to educate millennials about, why this is important. And this is why, I think you have one of the most important podcasts out there, because it's not going to be the boomers who rush headlong into this. They've already done it. They're reluctant to change. Mm-hmm. They've made it in their, they've either made it or they haven't made it doing what they're doing, and they're reluctant to change. As we get older, it's just, proven out that you are less prone to changing. And this is where Bitcoin, to me, represents a massive opportunity, an outsized opportunity for millennials to adopt this and really ride that wave up in a similar way to, our baby boomers had a massive wave up, massive tailwinds for 40 years. From 1980, they had interest rates go from 18 to 20% down to zero. Massive tailwind. You had property prices, unless you were lucky with a few little bumps along the way, you had property prices basically go 10 to 100x in that 40-year period. And I look at that and think, now that, interest rates have changed, we've now in a period of quantitative tightening. We've watched in the last 5 years the 10-year bond rate in the US go from 0.5% up to over 5%, and now it's back down to about 4.3%. Maybe that trade is over. The boomer trade is over of property. But guess what? And this is where I think the opportunity for millennials is. Bitcoin is the equivalent of the property market for the last 40 years, except that 100x that you had to wait 40 years for in property, you're probably going to get that condensed into the next 10 years. So I look at this and think, if I'm a millennial, I'm trying to figure out how to get as much of this Bitcoin as I can, because the next 10 years, there's nothing that comes close to this as an investment opportunity. Property's not going to do it. Stocks are definitely not going to do it. And the bonds are just, that stuff's worth less than toilet paper. So I look at this and I think, in my day to day, I literally look at, what are the investment opportunities out there, whether it's stocks, bonds, property, commodities, alternative assets, private equity, venture capital. And I look at this and I think, well, this is easy. This is like the simplest decision that one can make. It's just a matter of understanding what you're doing.
This is the best opportunity for the next generation of investors who missed the last wave. The greatest wealth transfer in the history of the world is happening now. The world's financial assets are shifting from physical and analog to digital and scarce. Bitcoin is the best representation of that. There is no second best. Don't miss the opportunity, as I've showed you countless amounts of capital that are flowing into Bitcoin, And literally, with one change in the tax code, $300 trillion of wealth will flow into a $1 trillion asset. It's not that hard. I'm super excited to connect with so many people down in Dallas, Texas this week from April 3rd through April 6th at the BitBlockBoom conference. The longest running Bitcoin conference in America is going to be on and poppin' down in Dallas, where you're going to get to hear from your favorite speakers like me, Parker Lewis, Guy Swan, Marty Bent, Bob Burnett, and others. You're also going to get to connect with your favorite Bitcoiners that you listen to on shows and podcasts like this in real life. And I'm super excited to meet you guys. Get $100 off your all-inclusive ticket by going to BitBlockBoom.com and using the promo code BBB25. That's BitBlockBoom.com and using the promo code BBB25. Don't miss this opportunity. The greatest wealth transfer in history is happening now, and it's flowing into Bitcoin. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Happy stacking.